So as I'm working this chart using the underlying natural houses, the overlays of the 911 call, the chart of the missing person, the chart of the randomly chosen suspect, the composite chart, the fixed stars, the midpoints. I'm finding yods. I'm finding tons of conjunctions. Um, Here I have a yod. That's this formation here. Um, and this one is 60 degrees. Okay, so we have 14 degrees Sagittarius, and that would be the missing person's placement there in purple. And then the randomly chosen suspect, 12 degrees there in green. Okay, and then here we have the randomly chosen suspect, their Mercury at 13 degrees and their Pluto at 12 degrees in Libra. Okay, so from Sagittarius to Libra, that's 60 degrees. And then when we go across from the sign that's in the center, which is Scorpio, okay, we come up with about 13, 14 degrees Taurus. Okay, and we already talked about those associations. The 911 call in red, 13 degrees Uranus in Taurus, and Menkar, which is associated with disease, disgrace, unfortunate circumstances, and so on. Okay, is at the top or the tip of this yod. And so there we have another yod. The first one was had a 30-degree base. This one is more classic. It has a 60-degree base. The first one, some people wouldn't consider it a yod because it involved a quincunx and an opposition, and then 30 degrees at the base. But, you know, however you want to look at that is totally up to you. Wanted to take a look at some conjunctions with some midpoints that I thought were interesting. In the 9th house, that would be the 911 call in red at 2 degrees, the cusp at 2 degrees Leo, the Mars at 2 degrees Leo, and the randomly chosen suspect's Sun Lilith midpoint at 2 degrees. Now, Lilith has sexual connotations. It's the part of sexuality that nobody really appreciates you for. It's hard to explain, but way back in the day, there's a mythology about Adam and Eve, but the mythology is that before Eve, he had a wife named Lilith. Now, this is not, I haven't found this in the Bible, so this is mythology. Anyway, she wanted to be equal, and he didn't want her to be equal, and so she ended up leaving him. And so, anyway, like I said, the part of sexuality that someone doesn't appreciate you for, or nobody appreciates you for, or whatever, that's this moon sign with the cross at the bottom of it. That's Black Moon Lilith. That's the symbol. Okay. So, and then again, in this 5th house, natural house, which is the 9th house of the 911 call, we have his Saturn at 15 degrees conjunct his Sun Jupiter midpoint at 13 degrees. So they're very close together within a 2-degree orb, so we can say that's conjunct when it comes to midpoints. Now, the Sun and Jupiter midpoint is the middle point between his Sun and his Jupiter. Remember, he's in green. This one is also very interesting. Again, in the underlaying or the natural house of Leo, which is the 9th house of the 911 call again. The moon at 27 degrees there, and it's conjunct the randomly chosen suspect's Moon Saturn midpoint and his Moon Ascendant midpoint at 26 and 27 degrees. So we have some significant conjunctions, I believe, several, involving the randomly chosen suspect. And so I'm going to get on with another midpoint that I found, and this one relates to the victim and the randomly chosen suspect. In Scorpio, her Mars is at 16 degrees, and his Mercury ascendant midpoint is at 16 degrees. Okay? But like I said, the most significant midpoint I have found so far is the composite midpoint. That is when I take the point between the sun-moon midpoint of the victim and the sun-moon midpoint of the perpetrator, I come up with 26 degrees Scorpio, which is the ascendant point degree of the 911 call at 26 degrees Scorpio. And so now I'm going to go on and I'm going to continue with the fixed stars. Oh, another recap about the composite midpoint. The counter midpoint would be at 26 degrees Taurus, since the midpoint is at 26 degrees Scorpio. It's going to be right across the street in Taurus. So it will form a conjunction, of course, to the descendant, which describes the perpetrator or randomly chosen suspect in this case. And it's going to conjunct Algol, which is a fixed star associated with sexuality and murder. It's going to be conjunct his Jupiter, the randomly chosen suspect. This symbol that looks like a number 4 at 28 degrees is Jupiter. Also at 29 degrees, Pleiades, associated. It's a fixed star associated with violence. So there we have what's called the counter midpoint. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write here. Just going to circle that, and I'm going to put the CMP. We'll call that the counter midpoint. Okay, so all that's there. Coincidentally, on the 7th house cusp. And so, wow, that's a lot going on with this chart. More observances in the way of fixed stars. The victim's counter midpoint at 20 degrees Cancer is conjunct a fixed star named Castor, and it is associated with loss and violence. Okay. Then we go over here to Leo, which is, like I said, the 9th house of the 911 call, the 5th natural house. And we have Talitha, the fixed star Talitha. It is associated with anger, and it's in the first decan. There's a star cluster in the first decan of Leo called the Aceli, and it's associated with death by fever, fire, hanging, beheading, violence, and wounds to the face. So that is a fixed star that is conjunct the random suspect's Sun, Black Moon Lilith midpoint at 2 degrees Leo, and the 911 calls Mars at 2 degrees Leo, and the 9th house cusp at 2 degrees Leo. Here we have something else very interesting. We have Acubens. That's a fixed star. It's associated with astrology, writing, also domestic problems. Maybe someone who's had issues with domestic violence. And it's at 15 degrees, I believe, 13 or 15, in Leo. And it is forming a conjunction to the randomly chosen suspect's Saturn and Sun Jupiter midpoint in Leo, in the 5th natural house, the 9th house of the 911 call, and the 6th house of the composite chart. I haven't talked about the composite chart in a while because there really hasn't been a need to. But an awful lot of conjunctions with an awful lot of negative fixed stars. Like I said, fixed stars are taken more seriously by some than others. I consider them the candy sprinkles of the universe, so to speak. But they do have meanings assigned to them. And so I'm going to move on to the rest of the 5th house in Leo. So here at 27 degrees Leo in the natural 5th house, which is the 9th house of the 911 call again, we have the moon at 27 degrees, which deals with preschool age children. We have the randomly chosen suspects, moon, Saturn midpoint at 26 degrees, and their moon ascendant midpoint at 27 degrees. And what we have here at 27 degrees is a fixed star by the name of Alphard. Okay, and it's associated with music, art, passions, death by poisoning, death by drowning, and problems with the law. And they are all forming a conjunction to the 911 call's moon, and the moon and Saturn, and the moon and ascendant midpoints of the randomly chosen suspect. Also, I forgot to mention Dubay, the fixed star at 15 degrees, forming a conjunction to the randomly chosen suspects, Saturn and Sun, Jupiter midpoint. It's associated, it's also known as the bear, okay? It's associated with astrology and destruction, okay? So we've seen 2 references to astrology here, one with Acubens and one with Dubay, otherwise known as the bear. All right. And so now I'm going to move on and get to the rest of these fixed stars because there's a lot of them. Oh, at the 27 degrees Leo, there is another fixed star. Sorry, I forgot. Al-Jabah. Okay, and it's associated with wealth, violence, danger, and loss. So there's a lot there with that moon at 27 degrees Leo. So now we're going to be looking at the randomly chosen suspects, moon in Virgo at 7 degrees. Okay. It's conjunct 2 fixed stars. One is Thuban. It's associated with someone who burns to death in their own house. Okay. And also Alioth, suicide among women and dangers in pregnancy. Now, the moon not only represents preschool age children, it also represents how the native, okay, or the person who is born with this aspect, so to speak, which is 7 degrees moon in Virgo, how they perceive their mother, or something that describes their mother. This person's mother may have had a lot of issues with fertility and pregnancy, may have committed suicide, may have had their house burned down or something of that nature. So this could be something that could have been experienced by the mother of this person, who I think is a halfway decent suspect as far as an astrological study goes. So moving on, more candy sprinkles, more fixed stars. We have the victims, Jupiter at 22 degrees Virgo, also the North Node. They are both at 22 degrees Virgo at a critical degree. We discussed that earlier. 2 different fixed stars conjunct. We have 23 degrees. We have Coma, Berenices, okay? It's associated with being idle, dissipated, having eye problems. And then at 21 degrees, we have Denebula, which is undesirable associates and catastrophes, all associated with her Jupiter and North Node there in Virgo in the natural 6th house. But it's in the 10th house of the 911 chart. And it's in the 7th house of the composite chart. And the 7th house rules enemies. So that's it with the sign of Virgo in the natural 6th house. So now this is loaded. Okay. In the 7th natural house, the 11th house of the 911 call, we have the randomly chosen suspects, Mercury and Pluto, in Libra at 13 degrees, sitting between two really nasty fixed stars. One of them is Algorab at 13 degrees. It's associated with suicide, scavenging, greed, malevolence. Sorry, I can't say that word to save my life. Fiends and liars. And then at 15 degrees, there's Merga, guardians, and a force behind the scenes. Okay? It's also conjunct their composite North Node and their composite Saturn. And this is also in the 8th house of the composite chart. And the 8th house is about death and murderers and the underworld and the sign of Scorpio, the planets Mars and Pluto, okay? And it sits right here in Libra. So here we have the randomly chosen suspects, Sun at 26 degrees Libra, in the 8th house of the composite chart, which represents Scorpio and death and all of that nasty stuff. All right, and at 24 degrees, which is within a 2-degree orb of 26 degrees, is Arcturus, which represents fame and riches and benefits through travel. Get the sense that this person is doing this for money, perhaps. Perhaps they're being paid to, abduct and deliver children and young women. Some people would call that a coyote. I don't know. You can call it what you want.